story unfolds or define the story. I'm going to
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Allbaugh along with Mr. Aaron Zommers as our engineer producer on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Monday. Back to work, August 4th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Glad to have you along after a nice weekend. A little smoky, a little breathing, maybe a little sore throat because of all the Wild West fires, smoke in the area, but otherwise pretty darn nice. Zommers, glad to have you along back at the helm. Many thanks to Parker Olson, who filled in last Friday. We missed you. How was your weekend?
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Parker, very much for filling in. I had a doctor's appointment that it ended up taking me longer than I thought. It went a little longer, and then I had to pick some stuff up from the pharmacy on the way back, but I caught them at their lunch break. It was just a comedy of errors.
Those things always happen. But
then I went to the Mile of Music in Appleton, and that made up for it because it was a lot of fun.
Well, very good. Glad you had a little R&R time. Spent Saturday. Here's the deal. I did not have a lot of plans, and I've been on the road a lot for the show. We love doing that. But it turns out, Zommers, when you live alone, nobody does the laundry for you or helps out.
Very true.
There was some laundry I had to do, and that's why I thought, well, I should do it. But then my parents, my godsons, Kurt and Florcy, called, and they're my kayak companions. And I said, you know what? Grab life by the horns and enjoy it. So we ended up doing about a 4-hour kayak paddle down the lower Wisconsin River, put in just below the dam at Prairie du Sac, and then went all the way down to about Mazamanie. And it was a lovely, lovely afternoon. No better thing to kind of relax yourself than get out there on the lower Wisconsin on the kayak. So that was a lot of fun. And then I got to do my house chores yesterday. Took a little walk down here by Lake Mendota. So all in all, not too bad at all. Going to be another, just talking to our producer, Luke Mathers. I guess Director of Operations is his correct title, but he has given us the go-ahead. Wednesday, we're going to be up in La Crosse for the show, covering the Fusion Voting event up there.
Excellent.
And so that should be a good opportunity to talk about fusion voting on Wednesday from La Crosse. And then on Friday, we're doing the show from Shawano. So going to be a little bit on the road here this week as well. Hope you're with us all week long for our new shows. Coming up in hour 2 today, what's worse, our fun and silliness, neighborhood covenants, or no restrictions? We'll talk about that a little bit. I have feelings on this, by the way.
Me too.
Coming up at the bottom of this hour, from Wisconsin Watch, very important story from reporter Janelle Mella on measles and vaccination rates in Wisconsin. There have been over the weekend, timely indeed, unfortunately, as new cases of measles being reported in Wisconsin. And Janelle will be here with reporting from Wisconsin Watch on that very important subject. But right now, I want to kick off the program with a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, joining us from the North Woods of Wisconsin. He is the former Wisconsin State Senate Majority Leader, longtime Senator, Democrat, representing the Poplar area and northern Wisconsin, places like Bayfield, Ashland, Superior, the great North Woods. Bob Jelk joins us via StreamYard. Senator Jelk, a pleasure to have you along. Thanks for being here.
Well, what a pleasure it is to see you as well, Todd, and couldn't help but feel like I should have been with you on the kayak going down the lower Wisconsin. You're right that there's so many beautiful places to go and enjoy this wonderful state that we live in, and I applaud the effort through your program and others to try to remind people of what's good and great about Wisconsin. It's the people who live here and what they do to make a difference in helping others.
Well, thank you very much. And for those that might know, my former boss, Dale Schultz, Republican, worked very closely with Senator Jauch and the late, great Senator Tim Cullen, three former majority leaders, from different parties working together on issues like mining and forestry and redistricting. But that afforded me the opportunity, the privilege, the honor to hang out with Senator Jauch. And for those that don't know, Bob is quite the conservationist historian. And I know one of the things you're really passionate about is Native American culture. Not just in northern Wisconsin, but in particular. You taught me so much about the rice beds and the conservation areas up there. And so the lower Wisconsin River just literally flows into some of those same topics. I know those are things that are near and dear to your heart.
Well, there's a number of tribes in northern Wisconsin that have played a very important part personally in my life. My mother lived in Lac de Flambeau, one of the five Chippewa tribes in the north. And so it's really become personal to me in my heart about their traditions and their culture and their communal way of living and working together with their children to try to preserve the traditions and strengthen tribal life. It's been a long and difficult time. But in many ways, it's getting much better. They're really promoting education and healthcare. These tribes have wonderful healthcare facilities, and they have a growing population of young people who are going on to college and getting degrees and coming back into the tribal communities to try to spread that notion onto others and make a difference in their communities. And so I feel really fortunate to have represented Red Cliff and Bad River and St. Croix and Le Coudray and Lac de Flambeau in my time. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Difficult at times, especially with tribal spearfishing and the controversies that took Wisconsin boat landings back to Mississippi days. But I think we've come a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly thank you for all your work in helping make progress up there in the North Woods and for the state of Wisconsin. Senator Jauch is our guest. I asked you to come on in pretty short notice, so I appreciate you making time for us. And it was in light of what happened towards the end of last week. We covered this a little bit on Friday and then over the weekend. For those that might not have been looking at the news cycle, maybe spending more time on the Wisconsin River or other places in Wisconsin, and nothing wrong with that, by the way, but some pretty disturbing news coming out of the state of Texas. And I want you to help us sort through this, Senator Jauch, from a Wisconsin perspective. For those that haven't heard, Governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, has called a special session of the Texas legislature for the distinct purpose of redrawing the congressional maps, redistricting of sorts, although it is precipitated directly from President Donald Trump, who did not deny it over the weekend. In fact, when asked by reporters, is it true, President Trump, that you're trying to get more seats out of Texas? He cut him off and he said, yeah, 5 seats. So Donald Trump is telling Governor Abbott, Republican in Texas, redraw the maps to create 5 more Republican-leaning districts because, of course, Trump and the MAGA leadership in D.C. are deathly afraid that in the midterm elections next year that Democrats could take back control of the House. So Abbott is willing to capitulate, to genuflect politically to Trump on this. And so now over the weekend, breaking yesterday into today, many of the Democrats in the Texas legislature have left Texas for Illinois in order for there not to be a quorum so that the remaining legislature, mostly Republicans, cannot pass this or vote on it. Senator Jauch, you were a key part of the Wisconsin legislature in the state Senate back in 2011 in this state when Governor Scott Walker was pushing through, and most Republicans, my former boss Dale Schultz, the lone exception in the Senate, trying to pass through Act 10, which would have broken bargaining rights and ultimately did, unfortunately, for public workers. Democrats in the state Senate, yourself included, went to the beautiful Clock Tower Hotel in Rockford to put the pressure on. Talk to us a little bit about, from your perspective, what's happening in Texas and how that relates to what you all did back in 2011 in Wisconsin.
Well, in some ways, they're very similar. the proposals were being driven not for any public benefit, but rather completely to create a political environment that was better for the Republicans, to minimize Democratic voice and the public's understanding of what they were creating. In many ways, this is even more dramatic than what Walker was doing, because what's happening in Texas is really un-American. It is undemocratic by every stretch of the word, and it could have the impact of affecting the decisions directly that impacted people throughout the country. If the Republicans were successful in enacting that legislation, keeping the House by 5 seats that they somehow have gerrymandered to their preference. It's also nationalized because it's forcing Democratic governors in states controlled by Democrats to say, we'll have to do the same thing. And it whittles down this whole notion. It elevates gerrymandering to its highest point, in which I'm not sure what the way back is to a sense of something that was normal. I mean, clearly, reapportionment was something I really didn't like as a lawmaker. I had a fairly Democratic district, but by its nature. But in that conversation was always about people strengthening their own political might, not getting the right kind of representation that gave people power to their word in the legislative process. And so this has got really far-reaching impact on our democracy, on our nation's decisions that would be made in the next election. And I'm very worried about the direction that we're going.
Senator Bob Jelk, a Democrat from Poplar, former Senate Majority Leader, is joining us via StreamYard. Senator, about a minute here before our first break. We'll come back and want to talk about where this leaves us in terms of redistricting and the Democrats after we come back. But quickly, give us this perspective on what's happening now with the Democrats leaving the Texas legislature for Illinois. Like you folks did in 2011, Democrats leaving Wisconsin, it not only does it stop kind of technically the proceedings, but it brings awareness to the situation.
Absolutely. It mobilized people throughout this country. I've run into people almost every week when I'm traveling outside Wisconsin, where people want to talk about it. They just see the decision we made as some sort of an heroic gesture, and I didn't think any of us saw it that way. But it's how the public viewed it, in a sense that people were standing up for things that mattered to people elsewhere, and it really pushed the button of understanding and action, I think.
I know so. I mean, our friend, the late, great Senate Majority Leader Tim Cullen, I think you had to do something in your district that night, so you were a little late joining us for dinner, and we walked into a restaurant bar place, I think it was in Superior, and there were a dozen, maybe 15 people at the bar, and I just kind of as a goofy thing, I said, ladies and gentlemen, State Senator Tim Cullen, and the place went up for grabs. I mean, even in Superior, they knew exactly what you all as Democrats had done, and he always loved that story because it made him look like a rock star, and my former boss Dale Schultz not so much, and so Tim always loved that.
Well, it's amazing. I met Governor Wallace's daughter one time, and she said, "You're my hero for what you did in Wisconsin."
State Senator Bob Jelk is part of what makes Wisconsin great. We'll come on back, talk more with him after this on the situation in Texas and the path ahead for Democrats. Should they now get involved in partisan redistricting as well as a counter? Come back after this. Apologies for cutting you off. I was just up against the clock there. Sorry about that.
It's your show.
No, that's the one thing. Like when the computer will cut me off whether I want to keep going or not. So it forces me to wrap up. Penny in La Crosse watching on or listening, watching. Do you have any more information on Fusion Voting Wednesday? Yes, I will give it to you. We'll do it on the air. Da, 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 da. Let me find it. Um, I'll plug Zommers. I'm going to send you this email from Chris Andrews, and then you can put this information in the show notes, please.
Okay. I'll also send it directly to Penny.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And then I'll just mention it when we come back, but I don't want to take too much of time away from our time with Senator Jauch, so I'll actually go through it when we come back from the bottom of the hour break before we bring on the Wisconsin Watch person.
Okay, sounds good. All right, 30 seconds.
All right, thank you. And did you get that cut from Greg Abbott? I'm not sure
Yes,
we'll use
it's
it or
ready
not.
to go.
Okay, all right,
in
thanks.
case.
All right. Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is Monday, August 4th, 2025. 22 minutes now past the hour of 2 o'clock. Zombers on the board. Glad to have you along with us. From the text line on the Civic Media app, listening on WLCX, our great station in La Crosse. Penny asks, do you have more information on the Fusion voting event on Wednesday in La Crosse? Time and place, please. We're going to be there doing our show on Wednesday in La Crosse. Yes, we do. I'll go through all of that after the bottom of the hour before we bring on the Wisconsin Watch people. But very quickly, it's at 12:30 this Wednesday at the Black River Beach Neighborhood Center. There is no fee for attendance, but registration is required. You can visit Leader Ethics, all one word, leaderethics.us. And we'll give you all that information after the bottom of the hour. There's also a streaming option as well, so we'll go through that. But right now, I want to finish up our great conversation with our friend, former Wisconsin State Senate Majority Leader Bob Jauch, Democrat of Poplar, who joins us from his home in northern Wisconsin via StreamYard, talking about what's happening in Texas, where the Democrats, and most of them, the Texas legislature, have gone to Illinois to stop a quorum in the Texas legislature, thereby stopping Governor Greg Abbott's power grab, my word, at the behests of Donald Trump to redraw the congressional map lines with the directive from Trump, which he confirmed this weekend. He wants 5 more Republican-leaning seats for a 5-seat pickup in Texas, potentially, depending upon how the elections go. And Senator Jauch's perspective as a Democrat at the time in 2011 in the state Senate, who left Wisconsin to help stop Act 10 and Governor Walker's power grab here to break public unions. Senator Jauch, help me with my memory, because there are parts of that era that I kind of block out. But as I recall, by leaving the state, you were in fact able to stop the vote from happening for a while, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it was.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Ultimately, as memory serves, Scott Fitzgerald ended up getting some kind of shaky legal advice. They split the bill, and so they basically passed it because without you guys, because they said there was no money involved, and we all know what happened after that. But you were able to stop it for a while, and as we said before the break, more importantly, perhaps, you brought awareness that lives to this day.
Well, hundreds of thousands of people throughout Wisconsin became a vocal representation of the decision we made because they saw the outrage. Not only did we leave the state on a Friday morning to create awareness in the state, to give the public a chance to better understand what is being proposed, but it was also to slow the process down. They wanted to do the legislative process in 5 days, and literally not giving the public who was showing up in Madison in speaker after speaker 24 hours a day. They wanted to deny them the opportunity to have any voice.
And that's a great point. I'm really glad you brought that up, because I remember when Governor Walker and his entourage walked into the closed Senate Republican conference and announced this, and people looked at each other like, holy hell. The Republican senators didn't even know this. He never ran on it, Walker didn't. And so that's a really important point, that you gave the public time to digest this. At one time, there were 100,000 people on the lawn of the state capitol.
That number continued to grow. And you talked about the Republican caucus. You were, as a staff member, involved in some of those behind the scenes caucus discussions. Know that many of your members, Republican caucus members, were not in support of this, didn't like the idea,
100%.
Didn't want it to happen. And so not only were we trying to give the public the opportunity to better understand it, but to begin to put some pressure on those Republican members to say, wait a minute, let's find some middle ground. And there was plenty of middle ground to be found on the whole question of negotiations, timelines, and other things with labor unions. The labor unions were willing to come to the table, admitted it publicly, were willing to make many concessions. And so there was no argument about what the issue was. The issue, however, the hidden issue was the governor simply wanted to destroy unions, take away their voice, and deny the public the opportunity to better understand it.
Yeah, another great point, because there was room for opportunity to come together. Senator Dan Kapanke Lacrosse at the time was almost there. My former boss would have stopped it, but essentially he was bought out by the big money during his congressional race over there, and that's a whole other story. We'll have to have you back sometime and talk about that. I want to give you the opportunity, Senator. 2 minutes left here, a little under that. What should Democrats, in your opinion, do now in nationally, these different states who control state legislatures? Should they participate in this, I'm going to call it partisan gerrymandering, to stop basically perhaps a takeover of the government by MAGA that you can't get back?
I hate to hear myself saying this, but I don't think they have any choice at this moment. I mean, your ultimate goal for Democrats is to stop the legislature from enacting. I don't think we're going to be able to do that. So therefore, you have to try to create a momentum in other states to create more democratic opportunities. And the ultimate winner will be in November of next year. If the Democrats do enough of it, it seems to me that that will be the ultimate judge of whether this was a necessary idea, not necessarily a good idea.
Senator Jauch, a former Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader, I cannot tell you how much it means to me to have you on the show today, have your perspective. It's a unique one. It's an important one. We'd love to have you back again. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very kindly.
Our pleasure. Former Senate Majority Leader Bob Jauch, come on back. We'll talk a little measles and vaccinations on the other side with Wisconsin Watch. It's an important topic, and you do not want to miss it. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for Monday on the Civic Media Radio Network. Senator, as always, that was fantastic. I think we, I could have done another 15 minutes, but I think we got to the main points. Really, really great.
it is a topic that needs a lot more discussion, but it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, I would like to have talked about Wisconsin's gerrymandered districts.
Yeah.
How could I be recommending gerrymandering when we lived under it for so badly?
Right.
But we don't right now. You have to try to gain some political accountability in Washington.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Thank you so much. We won't wait so long to have you back on again. So we'll have you on soon.
It's great seeing you. Thank you kindly.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Jack, if you can hear me on the while you're on hold,
that did it and planned for
we have a guest here. I got to get to you on measles. So if you want to weigh in on the Texas stuff, I should have some open phone time in hour 2. So not trying to be rude, but I just have a guest here. We have to get to her. So thank you.
And if he doesn't hear that, I'll pass it on to him once we have it set up.
Over
Thank you.
25,000 pieces of pork at this year's state fair. Morgan Warwick along with us. She's the program and marketing director for the Wisconsin Pork Association. Stick with us. I'll have a look at some more news after this.
Unique farming operations need unique financial solutions. Egg Country Farm Credit Services offers customized financing that fits any size farm, ranch, or agribusiness. The next time you're in the market for more land, equipment, facilities, or maybe even an operating loan, contact the team at Egg Country. They know agriculture and will work for you. Egg Country. Focused on ag, focused on you. Egg Country is an equal opportunity lender.
At Channel, we always show up for our farmers.
Is that tar spot or rust?
Incoming!
Definitely rust.
Rick, how did you?
Dropping in to check on your crop, Bill. Let's call your agronomist before that rust can hurt your yield.
That sounds great, but when did you learn to skydive?
Self-taught, Bill. Kind of a prodigy.
From personalized insights to year-round support, Channel Seed pros always show up. Visit channel.com to learn more. Channel, all in, all season.
And I always tell people here, over here, you can put the chair down just a little bit right there, just a tad. There you go. Cool. And then I always tell people, just kind of like eat the microphone, I call it. So I'll show you here. It's like when I'm talking into it, I'll basically be like that.
Oh, pretty close.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, whoops. Hang on. Okay, I'm gonna have a slide kind of more closer to the corner here. So there's a video component as well. What? Yeah. What? Hey, be careful; those things are gonna. There you go. Cool. All righty. So, oops, there we go. Get over here like this. So, we'll start. I always ask people a little bit about themselves. Are you full time with Wisconsin Watch or?
I'm an intern.
Sweet, awesome. So I always like to ask people where you're going to school, how you got into journalism, that sort of thing. So we'll talk just a couple minutes about that, and then we'll kind of get into this story here, which is very timely and very important indeed.
Yeah.
So, how's your day been?
It's been good. Yeah, I was just actually at work. It's really close by actually from here. It's like 6 minutes or whatnot. So, and I actually live closer to this building than I do.
Oh,
to
really?
Work, so, yeah.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And just, when we like now and over the break, people watching this in the stream can see us and hear us, but we're not over the area. But I always like to tell people just so, you don't say something you don't want out there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
All right, we got 30 seconds.
All right. Thank you. having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 35 minutes now past the hour of 2 o'clock on Monday, August 4th. Zomer is on the board. Many thanks to former State Senator Bob Jelk for coming on today, talking about that situation in Texas. Important indeed. Spent quite a bit of time last week when it was broke here on this program. Continue to follow it because ultimately this could be one of those things where if this is allowed to go through in Texas, Democrats could counter either in Illinois and or places like California. And it really can come down to the fight for democracy. So a very important issue, which we will continue to follow. Speaking of democracy, talked about it there before the news update with Pam, Farm Ag Update with Pam Yonke and Midwest Farm Report. Wednesday on this program, we're going to be back on the road up in beautiful La Crosse for the Leader in Ethics event on fusion voting called Reviving a Forgotten Fix for a Broken System. On the docket is Lee Rosh, the executive director of Leader Ethics and a plaintiff in the legal suit to reestablish the legality of fusion voting based upon the conditions of the Wisconsin State Constitution. Also, Dave Mahoney, former sheriff, Democrat of Dane County. My former boss, one of them, Dale Schultz, former Republican state senator of Richland Center. Christine Andrews, the executive director of United Wisconsin. And Rusty Cunningham, former publisher and executive editor of La Crosse Tribune and the River Valley News, will moderate the program. It is open to the public. It's a 1-hour program starting at 12:30 in the afternoon this Wednesday, August 6th. The location is the Black River Beach Neighborhood Center on Rose Street in La Crosse. There's no fee for attendance, but registration is required. To register, go online. Simply go to Leader Ethics, all one word, leaderethics.us. Leaderethics.us. Zomers has all that information. We'll put it in the show notes as well, so you have that. We'll be talking more about it as we get closer to Wednesday. Right now, 37 past the hour of 2, we turn our attention to another great organization here. Always love it when they stop by. Wisconsin Watch. You can find all their work at wisconsinwatch.org. That's wisconsinwatch.org. One of their fine reporters, Janelle Mella, is here in studio with me. Good afternoon, Janelle. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well, thank you. Thanks for coming in. Before we get into this very important reporting on measles, first time anybody stops by, we always like to ask the question. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and how you got into journalism.
Yeah, sure. So I'm originally from a really small town in Illinois, Gilbert's, Illinois, if you've ever heard of it. And I'm currently a journalism student at Northwestern University. I am going into my junior year, upcoming in the fall. But yeah, my journalism journey started pretty young. Not direct journalism, but I've always had a strong passion for storytelling and specifically telling the stories of others. So as I got older, kind of combined that with a passion to pursue a career that told the stories of other people and made people feel heard and seen, as that's what I believe journalism should be. So yeah, fast forward to college at Northwestern. I'm studying journalism, and I write for the school paper, the Daily Northwestern, if you've ever heard of it.
Of course,
yeah. And yeah, since then, I now work for Wisconsin Watch, which, for those of you who don't know it, it's a nonprofit, nonpartisan investigative news outlet based in Madison, but we cover issues across the state. I'm interning there this summer as a Scripps Howard Fund intern. And I mainly cover rural issues around the state of Wisconsin. And yeah, my most recent focus has been on the measles story that I'm about to talk about today.
Well, glad you're here. And, I'm obviously a little partial to the Wisconsin J School, but I'm going to quickly add one of my former bosses, Scott Klug. Before he was a congressman, he was a longtime journalist as a graduate of the J School at Northwestern. And they do some really great work. And wasn't there a big story that the Northwestern paper down there broke here?
Yeah.
Was it a year ago or so? What was that big story that
Yeah,
they got a lot of press for it?
Over the summer, it was to do with the Northwestern football team.
That's it. Yeah. And then that was, and as we have people from Badger Herald and Daily Cardinal on. I don't even like to say anymore student newspaper. You guys are journalists, full stop, because you're doing important work, breaking stories, and I think that gives me a lot of hope for the future of this industry. People like you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still kind of growing as a journalist and figuring out the industry myself, but definitely student papers and Wisconsin Watch definitely helps with that as well.
Absolutely. Well, happy to have you here. Let's get right to this story. The headline reads, "I would never wish it on anyone. Measles resurgence spurs memories of past toll in Wisconsin." Subheadline, decades after contracting measles during the pre-vaccination era, residents recall how infection disrupted their lives. Measles is now returning to the U.S., and 9 infections were recently confirmed in Oconto County, unquote. This is a great story. It's a long-form story, which I love. I would encourage all of our listeners and viewers to go to wisconsinwatch.org to read this. I could tell you're a storyteller because you bring these stories of people to life. Was that, as you did your research for this story, was that your choice to tell this through the lens of people who had experienced this?
Yeah, so actually, my editor, Jim Malewitz, he kind of prompted the idea based on, we did a call out a while back for our readers to kind of just let us know about their perspectives on measles and anything they had to share. And a lot of folks had kind of mentioned, hey, I had this when I was much younger. Like, I don't think people understand how terrible of a disease it was. And so he kind of brought that to me and was like, it'd be kind of cool to kind of look more into this, reach out to some of these people. And so, yeah, as I began talking to more people and reaching out, that's kind of what I learned. It was like the story was almost told through their voices, and I didn't have to do a lot of, the storytelling myself. They each had a very unique story to share based on measles and their experience with it. And so I kind of had that guide my future reporting and, doing more of the research into what that time was like and kind of what that means today.
Your story datelined is August 4th here. Over the weekend, even more reports of measles outbreaks across Wisconsin, so certainly timely indeed. One of the people you start with here is somebody that I know really well, Dorothy Thompson from my hometown, Richland Center. I've known her for like 30 years through the campus, mainly a great community person, done so much for the community. But tell us a little bit about Dorothy. So I've known her for 30 years. I did not know this about her until I read your story. Tell us about it.
Yeah. She was one of the first people that I had reached out to. And she kind of gave it that kind of little anecdote at the beginning, like she would never wish it on anyone. She had an experience so terrible that it stuck with her for years after. And that was kind of a big thing I learned with talking to people. It was like, many of these people are in their 70s and 60s now, but they remember such a critical time when they were like 5 or 6 years old. So Dorothy was one of those people. And one of the things that she said remained vivid in her mind was like being packed in ice. And that was something like, I don't think I would see nowadays or see people talk about that. So listening to that and kind of just being like, wow, like I wasn't alive during this time. I wouldn't know that, but like she's sharing that with me and I get to share it with other people. So yeah, it was a really eye-opening experience to talk to people who just like, this is how bad it was. And like, these were the treatments that don't exist anymore.
And what struck me hearing Dorothy's story through your reporting, my mom, who lives in the same town, Richland Center, she's a couple of years older than Dorothy, but this was an era when everybody wanted to be vaccinated pretty much. In that my mom tells stories of hey, after church in the small town, everybody went and stood in line in the hospital to get a polio vaccine or whatever it might be. And Dorothy was one of those people that experienced this when many people her age haven't because of vaccines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something we learned as well, just talking to people. Some folks who had it were like, when vaccines in general came out, like you were saying, people were very eager to get them just because after experiencing, the toll that a lot of these diseases took on them. And so, yeah, it's kind of shocking now to see that.
We're speaking with Janelle Mella from Wisconsin Watch. Her story is up on line right now at wisconsinwatch.org. Very important story, very interesting story on measles in the state of Wisconsin. The history is told through the lens of several people who have lived through this. One of the things in this story, Janelle, that again just struck me was some of the newspaper accounts of back in the day. Here's one from August 14th, 1930, headline, 31,287 deaths in state last year, department says. This is just incredible, the amount. This from the Appleton Post-Crescent, also in the Journal Times of Racine from 1960, measles parties, peril to children. But that's what, before we had vaccines, people would say, well, your kid's got that. I want my kid to get it so they get natural immunity, right?
Yeah, that was a big shocking part of my reporting was learning this like phenomenon called measles parties. And it was essentially where like people, it was so common back then that people were getting measles that at one point doctors even recommended that people expose their children to the disease, saying, hey, if you get it early on, then maybe you won't get the hard parts of it later on and getting over with now to have immunity. But, you know, as time goes to show, measles parties didn't eradicate the disease, but yeah.
But and also, again, through your storytelling in this story in Wisconsin, watch one line here from your story. A Door County resident, Pam Goodlett, recalled measles bout from 1963 as a 13-year-old. She says, quote, I was ill and bedridden for weeks. When I was finally able to get up, I was a skeleton. My pants couldn't stay up and my clothes hung on me, end quote. The reporting is really powerful because there's so many people that I think they look at this as a cold. And I'm not here to diminish COVID because some people died. Many people died of COVID. But nowadays, people are like, oh, you know, that's just like a bad cold. This is nothing to pun intended, I guess, sneeze at. This is deadly serious in some cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's even more dangerous about it is that it's a disease people haven't seen in so long. So its resurgence kind of brings back almost some of that refreshing. And we spoke to a lot of public health departments about that, just about like, you know, since it's something many nurses may had not even been around during the time and now have to treat, like how are they preparing for that? So it was nice to see that many of the public health departments have been preparing. And now that it has hit Wisconsin as of this weekend, that, you know, there's some safety behind that.
One of the other things, the other story here, another person you interviewed, Peggy Haas, age 69, a registered nurse in Waukesha County, became a firm believer, you write, in vaccines after witnessing the damage measles could inflict. In your reporting, is one of your takeaways, I don't want to overstate it, you keep me honest, but is part of these people speaking out, is it to say, look, you younger folks didn't live through this. You don't understand the danger, and put science before politics.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, one of the main things that I took away from it was like these are stories of people that actually happened, and maybe stories that weren't all captured in newspapers of the time. And because, you know, now it's years later, we can actually see some of those long-term effects that weren't visible in the past when people first contracted them. So yeah, it's kind of, it was going to be a way as like eye-opening for people who, yeah, like myself, who have no idea of that time besides reading newspapers, but it's nice to hear accounts of people who live today, but also lived back then to share their stories.
Just a couple of minutes left here. You talk about vaccines being a turning point in public health. What haven't I asked you that you think is important for our listeners to understand about this story and about the situation as measles, unfortunately, is back in Wisconsin?
Yeah, kind of a part of those call-outs we did, a lot of people had some uncertainty about whether they were vaccinated, whether they should get vaccinated, and like whether they had measles as a child. And I think a big takeaway we found was it's always better to be safe. So to check in with healthcare providers and trusted doctors to know what next steps are, and it's always safer than not to be safe.
Janelle Mella, thank you for Wisconsin Watch. This story and more at wisconsinwatch.org. Thank you for your reporting. Great story.
Yeah, thank you.
Our pleasure. Come on back. Talk more about this on the other side. That was amazing. That was really good. Yeah,
thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Really important.
This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Shop Furlow Mattresses Mega Mattress Sale. Get additional savings on top of our factory direct pricing. That's double the savings on your new mattress. Plus, save even more when you upgrade to an adjustable base. At Furlow, all of our mattresses are locally crafted.
Also,
and backed by our lifetime comfort
we will
guarantee.
have
So
people
hurry and get savings
in the
on
studio
top of savings during Furlow's Mega
guest hosting
Mattress
Maggie's
Sale.
show
Wake up.
several days
Sleep
this week,
better.
so we'll have to do all of our recording between hours.
It's Minute, powered by Clean Wisconsin,
Okay.
your environmental voice since 1970. I'm Amy Barrio.
Today, tomorrow, and
Eagles
Thursday.
near the Great Lakes are testing positive for PFAS and other toxic chemicals. Researchers found that eagles living near the Great Lakes had 6 times more toxic chemicals in their bloodstreams than inland populations. Other chemicals found in the baby eagles' bloodstreams were DDT and PCBs, which were banned decades ago. A small Wisconsin school district just got some big clean energy bragging rights. The Elva-Strum School District in Trimpelow County unveiled 184 ground-mount solar panels that will deliver about 20% of the district's energy needs and will be a living classroom for students to learn about solar energy and energy data. The installation costs $150,000 and will pay for itself through energy bill savings in about 8 years. Knowledge is power. For a deep dive into Wisconsin's environmental issues, check out my Defender podcast at cleanwisconsin.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you love animals and want to help in Dane County, shop, donate, or volunteer at one of Dane County Humane Society's thrift stores. They sell gently used and new clothes, home goods, toys, furniture, and more. All proceeds support the comfort and care of animals in need. Dane County Humane Society thrift stores. Shop Thrift Store West on Watts Road and Thrift Store East on High Crossing Boulevard. Visit giveshelter.org/thrift to learn more.
Here we go.
Pursuing truth. Allbaugh and Mike, Zommers behind the board. You across Wisconsin on the Civic Media app. Glad to have you along. 8 minutes before the hour of 3 o'clock. Many thanks to great reporter Janelle Mella of WisconsinWatch.org for being here to talk about this very, very important story on measles in Wisconsin. Following up to that great interview or her telling us about this story at Wisconsin Watch, one of the subheadlines in this story says how health officials are responding. Says, but the virus is back, with the U.S. seeing more than 4 times as many infections in 2025 than all of 2024 in terms of measles. And it has now been detected in Wisconsin. In Oconto County, quote, all of the cases were exposed to a common source during out-of-state travel, unquote, the state health department said in a statement over the weekend on Saturday. They went on to say, quote, DHS, in coordination with the Oconto County Public Health, is working to identify and notify people who may have been exposed to the measles virus. At this time, no public points of exposure have been identified, and the risk to the community remains low, unquote. Story in Wisconsin Watch goes on to say Wisconsin is vulnerable to an outbreak due to its relatively low childhood vaccination rates. It is just one of 15 states that allow vaccine exemptions for medical, religious, and personal belief reasons. No Wisconsin county comes close to reaching the vaccination rate of 95% that is considered the benchmark for herd immunity protection. Public health officials are bracing themselves to respond. This is serious stuff, particularly for people with young children, particularly with people with autoimmune diseases, particularly for the elderly. And now it is here in Wisconsin. I crossing over for a second in Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, by the way, it says one case of measles was found through testing at the Wisconsin State Laboratory of Hygiene, while the other 8 were identified through symptoms, according to a statement released on August 2nd. So, in this case, in Oconto County, it appears over the weekend, it must have been a family or a group that went traveling outside of Wisconsin and then brought it back. Because of HIPAA rules, and I know our friend Jane Matnair and Greg Bach and Matnair on Air touched on this morning as well. Because of HIPAA rules, the law basically regarding medical rules, there's only so much they can say. They can't say, well, it happened specifically to this family or this address. But you wonder, right? Did they fly to wherever they were and flew back? Did they drive? We don't know. And that drives home the point why it is so important to have vaccinations up to date. Because we don't know. We don't know the person sitting next to us on the plane or sitting next to us in a crowded restaurant, whether they've had their vaccinations or not. So you have your vaccination to protect yourself. And the really scary part is that my former party has gone all in on the drinking of the Kool-Aid on this on the right. Robert Kennedy Jr., one of the biggest anti-vaccine people out there, even he's walked back some stuff. And at the end of the day, when questioned under in a Senate committee, he said, well, I'm probably really not the person you should be taking advice from when it comes to vaccines. Oh, now you tell us. Thanks. Appreciate that. Whoever you vote for president at the top of the ticket, for governor, for whoever you vote for, I encourage you, I beg you, don't put political rhetoric before your kids and your family and your own health. If you want to drink the Kool-Aid on tariffs and taxes or whatever, I mean, I think that's pretty bad in itself as well. But what we're talking about here is life and death. And many thanks to the people who had the courage to tell their stories, like my friend Dorothy Thompson of Richland Center, and everybody else in this great story at WisconsinWatch.org, and for Janelle Mella for her great reporting. These folks like Dorothy Thompson are coming forward because they want to warn you, because they want to let you know this is not political BS. This is real. People have died. Many people died. Thousands, tens of thousands. And many people lived through it, barely. So this is not a hoax. This is not some quote-unquote woke propaganda or left-wing, however you want to characterize it. This ain't that. This is real. So get your kids vaccinated. Don't drink the Kool-Aid on this if you're on the right. Do the right thing by way of your kids. Because God forbid come a day if you don't vaccinate them where they're lying in the hospital bed on a ventilator and then you get religion. Figuratively and literally. And you try to make a deal with God. Please spare my child. I'll do anything. I believe in the power of prayer, but I also believe that sometimes there are lessons to be learned and consequences to be realized by making bad choices on our own point. Don't be part of that. Vaccinate your kids. Measles are real. Great reporting by WisconsinWatch.org. Come back with hour 2 after this. What's worse? Neighborhood covenants. Luke's never heard of that word. Or no restrictions. Come on back after this on the Allbaugh Show.
I don't know that it's never heard of the word. It's more here. They're normally, I feel like they're more commonly called homeowners associations.
See, I was not. This is very. I think it's an East-West thing, because where I'm from, you rarely hear the term homeowners association.
I haven't heard much of either besides online, but then again, I don't own a house, so and I've never attempted to purchase one.
ABC's Maria Villarreal is outside the Capitol in Austin, where the governor has ordered state Democrats back next hour or to face fines.
Let me know whenever you want to do the teaser.
This one is actually open for visitors, and it really is the last week or two before school starts. So we are seeing a lot of people come in and just check things out. They know the drama that is going to possibly ensue here in just a few hours, and that's when we're expecting them to gavel in.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu now says he plans to convene his cabinet this week to outline a military solution on how to defeat Hamas and free the remaining Hamas-held hostages in Gaza. Investors on a buying spree for stocks today before U.S. tariffs on foreign goods kick in this week. This is ABC News.
All right, good. We do.
And refreshing local radio.
Okay.
All right. 3, 2, and 1. Hey, everybody, join us next time. We hear a lot about the Trump tariffs. They're on, they're off, they're up, they're down. But how does it affect us here in the state? We'll be joined by Kyle LaFond, founder and president and CEO of Natural Contract Manufacturing in American Providence. It's way too long. All right. 3, 2, and 1. Hey, everybody, join us next time as we'll discuss the Trump tariffs. They're off, they're on, they're up, they're down. But what does it mean to us in Wisconsin? We'll be joined by Wisconsin business owner Kyle LaFond on that, and also PBS. Join us.
That will work.
All right,
Spread
thank
from
you.
person to person through the air. While these cases are in Oconto County, north of Green Bay, this is the first confirmed instance of measles virus cases in the state this year. Unvaccinated individuals
The hokey
have a
pokey
90%
tariffs.
chance of catching the virus if
The
they
way
come in
you said it, that's what that
contact
made
with a
me
contagious
think
person.
of.
Right.
There have been more than 1,300 confirmed cases of measles so far this year across the country, and Wisconsin has one of the lowest vaccination rates for kindergartners in the U.S. Last school year, 86% of them had the measles vaccine here in the Badger State. That means we have the second lowest measles vaccination rate in the nation. The only state with fewer kids protected against measles is Alaska. And we're seeing big drops year to year, too. From the 2023-24 school year to last school year, almost 3% fewer kids had the vaccine. In a 10-year period, measles vaccination rates for Wisconsin 2-year-olds went from 88% to 81%. Now is the time to get kids their immunizations before the school year starts. Your pediatrician's office or your local health department are great places to start. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. You're listening to 92.7 WMDX News.
It's the Brewers and the Braves. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with Sports Baseball. It's been 60 years since the Milwaukee Braves played their final game at County Stadium and moved to Atlanta. 5 years later, the Seattle Pilots became the Milwaukee Brewers. Tonight, it's the Brewers and the Braves in Atlanta. The crew still with the best record in baseball.
I now get
after
the
sweeping
emails
Nationals
with
over the
Mike
weekend.
Clemens
They won
clips.
again yesterday, 14-3. Manager
So,
Pat Murphy says it starts with a veteran like Christian
I
Yelich
can try to
leading
keep
the
you
way.
updated on
It
that
starts with Yelich.
going forward.
Our top experienced offensive player is on base 5 times. That sets the tone for everyone else.
NFL, the Packers had some standout players on defense on family night, including big number 93 defensive lineman Nazir Stackhouse, who says he already knew about a half a dozen Packers players from his time in Georgia.
Just me knowing some of the guys on the team, Devontae White, Quay Walker, John Fitzpatrick, Nico Harmon, Javon Bullard, just me knowing those guys made me feel comfortable coming here.
That's Nazir Stackhouse with Sports on Mike Clemens.
As Wisconsin is saying the word bag instead of bag. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Wildfire smoke still lingers, creating a hazy sunshine today with dry conditions. High temperatures scrape the low 80s. Winds are barely moving out of the north, and tonight we'll see a few clouds filtering in. Overnight lows drop to about 60. Tomorrow we stay sunny and highs still hit the low 80s. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently it's 79.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Frank Anderson, who is the founder of Wisconsinology.com. You were great in the documentary. That's really exciting.
I'm really not as a documentary filmmaker because I get bored so quick. You have to really dig into your subject, and you got to show up every day, sometimes for years, to let a story unfold or to find a story. I'm good for one day.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma
30
alone.
seconds.
Thank you.
If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Allbaugh along with Mr. Aaron Zommers on the board. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on this Monday, August 4th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. Glad to be along with you from the world headquarters in downtown Madison. I'm taking it that it's actually clear skies, Zommers, but it looks overcast because of the smoke. Here's what's happened, and I'm not sure there's a meteorological term for this or not. Somebody has smoked a large bowl in San Francisco, and the smoke has gone up into the air, and the entire country now is high. That's what's going on.
That explains a lot.
Wouldn't that be something?
That would be something.
Wouldn't that be something? No. Actually, there's, and here's the thing. You get some of these Republican yahoos like Tom Tiffany up north here in Wisconsin. He's writing angry letters now. And now a couple of state senators or assembly people, they got nothing better else to do at their time. They think, we'll get into this too. We'll write nasty letters to Democrats too. And to Canada, of all people, they're picking on the Canadians. And they're saying this entire thing is caused by Canadian wildfires. And what they forget about is there's lots of wildfires in Utah and Arizona and the Grand Canyon and all this that are blazing as well. So it's not just a Canadian problem, as it turns out. But anyway, it's causing real problems. I'm not sure about you, but some people are really struggling with this because of breathing or whatever. My breathing doesn't seem to be bothering me that much, but I have like a constant sore kind of throat a little bit.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of that too. Yeah. And on days when I've been outside more, a little bit of weird breathing stuff. And like it is unfortunate. Stay inside if you can, especially if you have asthma.
Yeah, absolutely. So stay, hang in there. It's supposed to eventually get better. We'll Scott Madison, listening on WMDX, says, I've smoked 3 packs of Canadian wildfires so far today.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Well done, Scott. Maybe we'll hire you as a writer. Anyway, it's supposed to clear off eventually at one point here this week. Well, but otherwise, other than the smoke, it's going to be a lovely week. Highs in like the 80s and sunny and not too humid. So it's the dog days of August, Zommers.
Yes. One thing I'm grateful to the smoke for is that it brings the temperature down a little bit by absorbing some heat.
Right. Scott, or rather, Steve, listening in Beaver Dam on WMDX says, you got it backwards, Todd. If someone smoked a huge bowl, things would be better. Well, there's always that. Coming up a little bit later, the Brewers, Zommers. Speaking of things that are hot, the Brewers, red hot. Mike Clemens, a great sports reporter, of course, following it for us. The Brewers are in Atlanta tonight to kick off a series with the Braves. Pre-game show around 5:45. First pitch at 6:15. Local time in Wisconsin. The Brewers on a big win streak lead the Cubs. The Cubs by 2 in the National League Central. Going to play a cut here in a bit from Logan Henderson. The Miz is out for a couple of days or more. He's on the 15-day IL list. And so they brought up Logan Henderson. And there's a great story about how he got to the game yesterday before he got the big win. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, Lonnie Anderson, which is a name that will mean next to nothing to you, Summers. But but for many of us, it was a big name in a lot of ways. Lonnie Anderson, dead over the weekend. The star of one of the greatest sitcoms on television, WKRP in Cincinnati, the girlfriend and former wife of the great late Burt Reynolds. So we'll talk about the life and times of Lonnie Anderson as well. What's worse coming up in terms of neighborhood covenants. Now, our operations director, Luke Mather, says he had never, well, I shouldn't say never heard of it, but he was not familiar with the term covenants as homeowners association. So we'll discuss that as well. But first, I want to get to a couple of calls. Didn't have time to get to last hour. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Jack in Merrimack. Jack, how's the smoke out there on the ferry, or are you in a different location today?
I'm in a little different location today, but the smoke is 153 here, and that's not good.
No, not good at all. Well, take care of yourself, Jack.
I love these guys that are criticizing the way the Canadians are handling, hundreds, if not thousands, of forest fires.
Right.
By saying, neighbor, your house is burning down. Stop sending the smoke to us.
Right.
I mean, let's at least try to do something that's helpful.
Right. Agreed.
Anyway, my comment from the segment with Senator Jelk that you had.
Yeah, we had former state. Let me just quick set it up, Jack. We had former state Senate Majority Leader Bob Jelk, Democrat of Poplar, on talking about this story out of Texas, redistricting stuff, or that's what they're calling it. Donald Trump telling Republican Governor Abbott in Texas, hey, redraw the maps to make it easier to win 5 more seats. It's like the thing he had in the election in Atlanta. I need so-and-so more votes. He tells Abbott, I need 5 more seats. They're trying to have a special session. Democrats in the legislature in Texas fleeing to Illinois to at least slow down that process. And Jalk was talking about the fact that Democrats did this in Wisconsin in 2011 to slow down the process when Scott Walker put Act 10 upon Wisconsin with little to no notice. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, in my opinion, Joe Biden made 2 very serious errors. These 2 things should have been top on his radar when he assumed office. And the first thing is not rebalancing the Supreme Court. We've seen the corruption and the other, stuff that has happened with the Supreme Court, reversing precedents of years and decades.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing, though, is that he should have pushed to get that John Lewis Voting Rights Act through. What we need
1964
is a
Voting Rights Act. Yep.
Yep. Then not the one in from the 20th century. I'm talking about the recent one that I think it actually didn't pass the House.
Well,
in any case,
it's a re-upping. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In any case, what we need is a federal law that unequivocally states all citizens, all adult citizens, have the right to vote, and anything that interferes with that right is illegal and will be prosecuted if it's individuals that are causing it. I mean, this kind of thing has got to stop. We've got to get rid of things like that egregious gerrymandering, things like what Wisconsin just did, which is 170,000 people purged from the voting rolls, and there's no proof that they are not legal voters. That's the thing. The onus of proof should be on people that are challenging those. And I realize that that's in Wisconsin law, I think now, if I recall correctly. But the bottom line is that's got to stop.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, Jack, but I got to go but quickly, yes or no on this, or at least a couple of sentences here. I'm with Jalk on this. I mean, as someone who does not want deeply partisan gerrymander maps, if Texas really does this, I don't know that Democratic controlled states have a choice but to fight fire with fire and try to save democracy on this.
Well, and I'm with you on both counts. Gerrymandering is outrageous. We should always be choosing districts by nonpartisan commission. But at this point, we don't have much choice.
Yeah.
You're
Thanks,
right.
Jack. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Jack in Merrimack. It is 15 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Time once again for What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. Then, of course, the choice is you can get with this or you can get with that. You can get with
Time
this
once
or you
again
can
for
get
What's
with that.
Worse. Nothing to give away, no prize money involved. It's your chance to have your voice heard across all 10 news talk sports stations in the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along. No better place to advertise than the Civic Media Network. Give us a ring-a-ling. Dial us up on the interwebs at civicmedia.us. Would appreciate your sponsorship, partnership. Great place to get your word out. All right. Category today, we've alluded to this, and I think this will be an interesting discussion because I think Mathers and Zommers are on the side of covenants. We never really heard of the word or the term. Well, maybe heard of it. All right. But not widely used. Homeowners Association is something you said you're more familiar with.
Yeah, commonly abbreviated as HOA.
HOA. Now, where I grew up in the southwest part of the state, it's a covenant. Does your neighborhood, does your community, are there covenants? I think, too bad Maggie Dawn isn't here today because we could ask her, but I believe, I'm no lawyer like Maggie, but I believe covenant is the legal word, maybe Jim Santel, we could dial Jim Santel up. Covenant is the legal term that governs a homeowners association.
Probably.
So a homeowners association is made up of several covenants. In other words, if you live in a neighborhood, you say, okay, people on this street and this street in this mapped out area, there are a certain number of rules you have to operate under. For instance, you can only use natural materials on the street facing side of your home. Has to be like wood or stone or brick. Can't be like vinyl siding.
Or certain paint colors.
Or certain paint colors.
Or you can't park your car in the driveway.
Or you can't, maybe not so much car, but maybe like you can't have a boat or RV vehicle parked in the driveway for more than a 24-hour or 36-hour straight time period. Those are the types of things that we're talking about. So the category today, from the old writers, what's worse, neighborhood covenants or no restrictions? Neighborhood covenants or no restrictions. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. And you could also dial us up, hit us up on the Civic Media app. Text us. That's the word I was looking for. You can text us on the Civic Media app. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. What's worse? Covenants, a neighborhood with covenants or a homeowners association, or no restrictions. PJ, watching on YouTube, as you can as well, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. PJ says, I would never buy a home in an HOA neighborhood, homeowners association neighborhood. Really? Never, PJ says.
I would certainly prefer not to.
Really? This is fast. See, I think this is a fascinating discussion. What's worse? Neighborhood covenants, i.e. homeowners associations, or no restrictions. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Now, I was on the city council of Richland Center for a couple of terms, and this is a pet peeve of mine because I think when you have people that are just junky and sloppy, it brings the entire neighborhood value down. We have to talk about this. Come on back. We'll talk about it with you. 855-752-4842. What's worse, neighborhood covenants or no restrictions? More after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Madison's Real News and Great
Ted in Appleton called in, and
what did Ted have to say?
He couldn't stick around to share this with you personally because he had to go for work. But
he's got to take care of the plane.
He must be spending a lot of time outside because he said, "Hey, dude, do you have any Cheetos?"
They're about developing the whole person. That's why
nicely done, Ted, if you're watching this on the live stream.
Encourage your student to participate in the last classroom of the day. Interscholastic sports in Wisconsin.
Oh, on the Logan Henderson clip, can you, I think it's like a minute or a little bit more into it where they ask him about, hey, how'd you get here? Not maybe they didn't ask specifically about like how is it getting here, and he tells this great story about his parents having to drive him. So we don't need the whole thing. We can just pick it up right before that story.
Has taught me the value of showing respect to those I come in contact with each day. My service also allows me to be there for my community in ways others can't. I help my hometown recover after nature strikes. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my country and those I care about safe from threats. I also work with a network of professionals that help me succeed and accomplish the mission. Plus, the Army National Guard education benefits make getting a higher education a reality. Being an Army National Guard soldier makes living and serving in my community more rewarding every day. Learn how you too can live and serve part-time, close to home by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
No more mold, no more damage, no more slipping and hurting. Make your ordinary bathroom extraordinary for only $99 per month.
All right, I'm not sure there's time. I just sent you the theme song from WKRP in Cincinnati as well. If it works out, you can. We can either do it on the back, coming back in here. We can do it next segment.
On a never clear glass treated door. BCI Bath and Shower. Interest-free financing options. 800-329-4115. 800-329-4115. 800-329-4115.
Being blind
I haven't found the
doesn't know how
spot in the
others may
clip
think.
just yet. That's fine.
Retinitis pigmentosa.
20 seconds.
Our house in the middle of our street. Our house in the middle of our house. It has a crowd. There's always something happening, and it's usually
We're working this 22 past the hour of 3 o'clock on Monday, August 4th. Your house, our house. It's part of it is perspective. Are you a homeowner or not? We're right in the middle of what's worse today. Controversial. What's worse? Neighborhood covenants, i.e. a homeowners association, or no restrictions? Neighborhood covenants or no restrictions? What's worse? 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. You can also text us on the Civic Media app or chime in on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Our ongoing contributor, our friend Jeff Perry, Jerry Perry, saying, my HOA just sent a tersely worded letter to Canada complaining about the wildfire smoke. I expect this probably to be gone shortly. This problem to be gone shortly.
And see, Jeff's sarcastic comment here points out exactly why I loathe homeowners associations.
Really?
Because it's a bunch of people who want control over other people's lives but have not succeeded in gaining that professionally or personally. And so they take the time out of their boring lives to boss other people around and tell them what to do. And it often, laundering money through HOAs. Like, I've just read so many horror stories.
But now you're talking about like Hollywood type of HOAs. There are a lot of covenant areas or HOAs in Wisconsin that are not in multi-million-dollar home areas.
That's true. I feel like at that point, then, I mean, there's also the middle ground. There are some, no house has no restrictions, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because there's still city rules.
What's worse, neighborhood covenants, HOAs, or no restrictions? 855-752-4842. Let's go to the phone lines. Ted, listening in good old Appleton, home of Harry Houdini. Ted, neighborhood covenants or no restrictions, what's worse?
Well, let me put it to you this way. You don't need an HOA to have a covenant in a subdivision.
True.
The developer or owner can put a covenant and register it through the Register of Deeds in the county. But you can also wipe your you-know-what with it, because unless the petitioner is still alive to enforce the rules, they're null and void.
Right. That's a great point, and I'm a little familiar with this, having been on the city council, Richland Center a little bit, because you're right. It all comes down to the legal, like the attorneys, right, how it's written. But yes, a developer can say, I'm going to develop this parcel of property, have 10 lots on it. And by law, I, as the developer, control the covenants until the majority of lots are sold. So until 6 lots are sold. At that time, those 6 homeowners or lot owners have the ability to create a homeowners association. And so you're right, that covenants can still happen without an HOA. And that's more common, I think, than people realize in the state of Wisconsin, Ted.
Oh, yeah. And, half the rules are unenforceable. That's the thing a lot of people don't realize.
It depends, again, to how much money one side has and how good of an attorney.
Exactly.
Thanks,
and,
Ted. Go ahead.
To your reference to your San Francisco smoking, not smoking. Hey, dude, you got any Cheetos?
Thanks, Ted. Appreciate you.
See ya.
855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Let's go to the phone lines. Cam in Appleton as well. People are listening to Appleton. They're lighting it up. Cam, neighborhood covenants or no restrictions? What's worse?
I would say neighborhood covenants by far and large are worse. You have the fact that they're legal is kind of crazy to me, because it almost seems like you can get bullied out of the money, right? But there's also, what else is legal is that you can call each of the people that live at those places and tell them that you yourself are on the HOA board, and then tell them that you're distributing out to them their mandatory distributed bloodhound dog, and that each one of them are going to be expected to maintain and keep it up. And you can do this exactly once legally to each house in the area.
All right, that might be a long shot, but here's a slightly more serious question, Cam. People that move in there, I mean, if they're doing their due diligence, they know they're moving into an area that has covenants or HOA, so that's their choice, right, to move in there?
No, actually, because my parents moved in, and this is true. This is not a screw around thing. My parents had moved into a place in Minnesota at one point in my life, and they were never presented with the paperwork for the HOA. They never signed any of that information. They were never shown it when they moved in or knew about it before going in. Then they built a fence and put foundation down to put like a hot tub hut thing into the area, and the HOA complained. But then when they went to court over it, the court was like, well, you guys didn't have them sign anything, so they're allowed to do this.
Wow. I would have thought that your parents would have had a case against the realtor, because the realtor should have disclosed that when they bought the property, that, hey, this property is in an HOA. I think that goes back to the realtor. But again, I'm not here to play attorney on the radio. But that's an interesting story, Cam. Appreciate it. Thanks for your listenership. Have a great day up there in beautiful Appleton. What's worse, neighborhood covenants or no restrictions? 855-752-4842. Heather in beautiful Eau Claire, Wisconsin, listening on WCFW, The Tap, says, I know covenants can be nitpicky and annoying, but neighborhoods that have junk everywhere are way worse. No restrictions are worse. There you go.
I think this is a more complicated topic than it seems.
Do we have to? No, we have a lot of. I don't want to stop this. I think we need to do a little farm news update with Pam Yonke and the great folks at Midwest Farm Report, and we're going to get to a lot of these texts and comments. We'll keep it going on the other side. What's worse, neighborhood covenants or no restrictions? And WKRP is a little less noisy after the death of Lonnie Anderson over the weekend. We'll discuss that. And the Brewers, speaking of hot, are hot as well. Don't go anywhere. It's the Allbaugh Show for a Monday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I've also read in this is, I guess, not personal stories. Could be fake. But
fake, he says.
Online, a lot of stories of people who they tried to find a house, and along the whole city they wanted to move in. They couldn't find one that was not in an HOA, like written into the deed. That a lot of the time, once a house is in an HOA, depending on where, like what state it's in, you really can't get it out.
Brian Glenn is the director.
Yeah, I'm not
without
an attorney,
disbanding the whole thing.
But yeah, I mean, it comes down to that group of people. Did they, in Ted's example, which I kind of know more about because we had a situation like that in Richland Center, the developer, more than one situation like that, where the developer buys X number of acres, so they're going to, develop it and puts the covenants on. I think that's why. I don't know why it's more common in the western part of the state, but yeah, you'll hear that all the time. Well, this has certain covenants on it, and some of them are very, very bland, so to speak. Like so for instance, it'll be, hey, every house in this development, because the guy or the gal owns this number of acres. They're putting the infrastructure in, the sewer, the water, that sort of thing, the gutters, the curb, all that sort. And so they'll say, all right, well, I only want, in order to get the return on my investment, it's going to take a certain kind of house to be built here. So I'm going to say every house has to be at least 1,500 square feet. That, you can't build a tiny home on well, now, a $100,000 lot. You can't buy a $100,000 lot and say you're going to put a 900 square foot home. That it has to be a 1,500 or whatever, 2,000 square foot home, because that's how I get my money back. And then, like I say, then that developer has the right to do that up until the majority of lots are sold. Then those people have to decide whether they're going to create a homeowners association or not. And then if and when that's created, then I think you're right. Then the only people that can disband that are a majority vote of the people that own the homes within that homeowners association. I don't think you can opt out if it's in.
Keep up with Pam at MidwestFarmReport.com.
I found the spot in the Breweries clip. But yeah, I think
cool.
On the close Monday from Chicago, grain markets are mixed with
complicated.
It's very complicated.
But from the way you're describing neighborhood covenants, it seems like they have more of a potential to be a force for good than what I have read about HOAs, assuming that that's true.
Well, you look at the pictures. I mean, and maybe the neighborhood covenants is really played into the upper side, literally and figuratively of covenants, but without any sort of restriction, then you get these junky neighborhoods. So why should someone, buy a $300,000 house, which to me is a lot of money, but now
not anymore.
In some places, not anymore. So you put $300,000. I mean, let's say you whatever the average price is now, $375 for a new house of any size. So you put $375,000 of investment into your property, and when you buy it, people on either side have nice lawns and they keep stuff up, and then somebody moves in, and like in that picture, suddenly there's an old car that they're working on that stays out there all the time. And then there's another old car. And then there's a snowmobile. And then there's 3 lawn tractors and a snowblower. And they sit out there year round. And then rodents come and grass grows up. And suddenly, after 3 years, you get a new job and you go to sell your home and your investment, and nobody wants to buy it because who wants to live next to a junkyard?
Right.
That's the problem without having it.
With Frank Anderson, who is the founder of WisconsinOlogy.com. You were great in the documentary. That's really exciting.
I'm really not as a documentary filmmaker because I get bored so quick. You have to really dig into your subject.
About 30 seconds.
Gracias.
Years.
Yeah.
One of the best sitcoms in television history from CBS.
Baby, if you've ever wondered whatever became of me, I'm living on the air in Cincinnati, WKRP. Got kinda tired of packing and unpacking, town to town, up and down the dial. Maybe you and me were never meant to be, just maybe think of me once in a while.
The great theme song of WKRP in Cincinnati on CBS from 1978 to 1982. One of the great stars of that program, Lonnie Anderson, who played a struggling radio station's empowered receptionist on WKRP in Cincinnati, died yesterday, just before her 80th birthday, according to the Associated Press. Anderson died at Los Angeles' hospital after a prolonged illness, according to her longtime publicist. Publicist said, quote, "We are heartbroken to announce the passing of our dear wife, mother, grandmother," Lonnie Anderson's family said in a statement. WKRP in Cincinnati ran 1978 to 82 on CBS, was set in a flagging Ohio radio station trying to reinvent itself with rock music. The cast included Gary Sandy, Tim Reed, Howard Hessman, Frank Bonner, and Jan Smithers, alongside Anderson as the sexy but smart Jennifer Marlowe. As the station's receptionist, the blonde and high-heeled Jennifer used her sex appeal to deflect unwanted business calls for her boss, Mr. Carlson. Her efficiency often kept the station running in the face of others' incompetence. That was the great part about this character. And Lonnie Anderson, who was very attractive, very well endowed, as you might say, blonde hair, blue-eyed. And the way the script apparently was originally wrote, it was kind of this blonde bimbo type of character. And Lonnie Anderson, to her credit, said, "I'm not playing that. If you want me, I want the character rewritten to be smart." And so they really did it well to play both sides, and where she used her kind of looks and finesse to outsmart people. And she was never really the butt of the joke. It was always the men of the show who were the butt of the joke and seemed to be incompetent. And it always came down to, well, Jennifer was actually the person kind of running the place. Anderson starred on the big screen, of course, alongside Burt Reynolds, the 1983 comedy Stroker Ace, a film that could not be made today. And the two later married and became tabloid fixtures before divorcing in 1994. Reynolds died in 2018. Anderson wrote in a 1995 autobiography, My Life in Heels, which she said was about the growth of a woman who survives. It's about my childhood, the death of my parents, my career, my divorces, and my children. Then, of course, the trauma of my marriage to Burt. Lonnie Anderson of the great show at WKRP in Cincinnati, dead at the age of 79. It's a great, if you've never seen the show, Zombers, You could probably still see it on like I don't know, Nick at Night or something like that.
I've seen a little bit, and it was very funny.
As he says with a completely straight face.
It was. I'm not watching it right now.
Oh, okay.
Just talking about
it. For those of us who worked in radio back in a certain era, it is spot on. You've known it. I wish Jane Matnair was here because she could attest to this. Every station has a Herb Tarlick, the sales guy who dresses in plaid suits. Every station has a Dr. Johnny Fever, the overnight guy who, is a little out there.
Couple screws loose, maybe.
Well, yeah. Every station has a Les Nessman, the news guy, who's a little square and takes the news a little too seriously. And so for those of us who worked in radio at the time and continue to do so, it holds a special place in our heart. And Lonnie Anderson, every station had the receptionist who was a little smarter than the station manager, but didn't have the title or the pay. And so it's a great show. What I highly encourage you to pick up on streaming, or I think they still sell it on DVD. But Phil and I from Richland Center have often said we could write a reboot of WKRP.
Might have to do it.
Withhold the names of the guilty.
Well, no, it's pure fiction, right?
Right. Lonnie Anderson, dead at the age of 79. All right, back to this. What's worse?
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
There you go. From the great Thanksgiving episode. I think we've discussed that on this show before.
Yes, we have.
Mr. Carlson, yeah. Chris, our own Casper says, we're living the reboot. Well, yeah, a lot to be said for that. All right, back to the story. Did Mark want to weigh in on Lonnie Anderson, or is he weighing in on what's worse? Do we know? All right, well, 855-752-4842. What's worse? Neighborhood covenants or no restrictions? Let's go to the phone line. Mark in Pernisac. Mark, what's worse? Neighborhood covenants or no restrictions?
Well, I'd probably say the neighborhood covenants, but I actually called in that WKRP actually did hit on some topical issues. I mean, it was actually a trans character that came in there that Herb Tarlick was trying to hit on this woman, and it turned out that she told Herb that she used to be a man.
I forgot about that.
Mr. Carlson stood up for freedom of speech and for freedom of thought because his minister friend was all bent out of shape over the Beatles song Imagine, and Mr. Carlson gave him a lecture on that. It just says Imagine. It doesn't say that he's, it just says Imagine, that gave a rather passionate, defense of free speech. So the show didn't it wasn't just a laugh riot. I mean, they actually did hit on actual issues. I mean, from time to time and up and down the dial. It was a good show, and it was interesting how that Jennifer was probably one of the smartest ones, along with Bailey. Bailey was
another
brilliant
woman
as well.
Yep.
Another one was brilliant as well, and that's probably something that ticked off a few conservators, is this smart, assertive women on the show, and they may not have liked it. I mean, that it is.
It had meaning.
It had meaning.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Mark. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for bringing up that point, because it's a really important one. Yeah, it wasn't just a great comedy. They tackled some tough topics of the day that we're still tackling, and did it back then, back in the late 70s and early 80s. Appreciate that, Gary. By the way, my sister says they have the whole series on DVD. How about that? All right. I know what we're doing this winter. We're sitting down and watching the whole series. What's worse, neighborhood covenants or no restrictions? Now, normally, Zommers, we end this at the bottom of the hour, but we've gotten so many texts, I wanted to carry this through. Lots of people weighing in on this one, and I want to get to some of these texts. Listening on WMDX, a brand new listener, a librarian. We appreciate our librarians out there. Says, no one is going to tell me what color to paint my house. The librarian in me says no restrictions. Homeowners associations violate our rights. Signed, a librarian. I love the discussion. What's worse, neighborhood covenants, or in some parts of the state known as homeowners associations, or no restrictions? Matt, one of our great UPS drivers in the RC, listening on WRCE, says no restrictions is worse. I'll put up with a boomer yelling at me about garbage cans if it means I don't have to look at decomposing jack-o'-lanterns. Now, that's a pretty specific one.
I think there might be some resentment there.
I think there might be. But there's some truth there, right? There are people that leave their decomposing jack-o'-lanterns up until they put up their Christmas decorations or Valentine's Day. Megan, listening in Sun Prairie on WMDX, says no restrictions would be worse. People can be very oblivious to how rude they're being to their neighbors, especially in regard to their volume at night. Well, that's another thing, right? Sometimes certain neighborhoods say, like, you can't have outdoor parties after midnight or something like that.
No matter your neighborhood, you can just call the police if they won't answer when you try and knock on the door. Be like, hey, shut up.
Right. It could be a city ordinance on that kind of thing as well. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. What's worse, neighborhood covenants or homeowners associations, or no restrictions? Listener on WAUK in Waukesha, no restrictions is worse in 2025. As we've seen from the very top down, you cannot trust people to be reasonable and to compromise. In fact, if you have some restrictions in place, it doesn't mean people will follow them. I am rethinking this. Maybe the reverse is true for the same reason.
Yeah, it's very hard. It's just like the whole Texas thing.
Right.
When do you say abandon the rules because there's too much at stake? Luckily, in this case, the consequences are a lot less dire. Decomposing pumpkin is not nearly as bad as democracy.
Carol on WMDX in Madison says, HOAs are worse. I had a purple house for years. My ex-sister-in-law hated it, but everyone else loved it. Pretty sure an HOA would not have approved.
Probably not.
Probably not. I think we have pretty much all the texts on there.
Did we get the Jack and Merrimack text?
Oh, no. Let's see. Have you got that
He
one
said,
up?
covenants are definitely worse because unlike city ordinances, they can be used to harass certain people. In a nearby neighborhood, an acquaintance of mine just resided his garage, leaving the windows. They were painted. A few months later, he got a letter threatening a fine unless he, quote-unquote, fixed all his windows because one had started peeling. I won't say anything about him except that he's not a straight white guy.
Well, there you go. And yeah, I think that's a unfortunate but good example of where it could be misused, right? Julie in Wausau, listening to WXCO up in beautiful Wausau, says, I would not buy a house in a neighborhood that doesn't allow clotheslines. Climate change is real. That's another example of, perhaps, that neighborhood would not allow a clothesline. I think those are more, maybe they're not extreme examples. But so Zamars, I think we know where you're at, but go ahead. What's worse, neighborhood covenants or no restrictions?
I think that neighborhood covenants, while they have a purpose, I do think they're probably worse. And my biggest argument for that is a few months ago, Peter Rapine, managing editor of eBaum's World, told us a story about a crackhead named Bobby who lived in his front lawn. And you would never get stories like that. And that's a crazy story.
Good point.
And I loved it.
Very good point. Look, as somebody was on a small town city council and who was also owned a farm in a rural area. I think, like, where my farm was at in the town of Bloom in Richland County, unzoned area, which means you want to buy 50, 100 acres out in the country, you can do with it as you want because nobody's looking at your building really. Right. I mean, what you do on your property is, and I'm fine with that. I just think in town, in a city where you might only have 15, 20 feet between houses, I think that it's better to have some sort of uniform restrictions. The main one for me is, and I saw this in our town, I've seen it in other towns across Wisconsin, that someone comes in and what, today, the average price of a home is what, $375,000?
Something crazy like that.
So you make an investment and everything's fine. And then some Yahoo moves in next to you and works on a car, and then it's 2 cars, and then it's a lawn tractor, and then it's 3 lawn mowers, and then it's a snow blower, and it's a snow, and pretty soon you got a junkyard, and you got leaves, and you got weeds, and you got rodents, and then you go to sell that 5 or 10 years from then. Nobody wants to buy your investment because of the junkyard next to you, and I think that is not good. And so I would say, for that reason, no restrictions is worse. All right, good discussion. We'll come back, talk about Merlot and the Brewers.
Merlot?
Merlot.
Malort.
After this, stay tuned.
As Wisconsin is saying the word bag instead of bag. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Shop Verlo Mattresses Mega Mattress Sale. Get additional savings on top of our factory direct pricing. That's double the savings on your new mattress. Plus, save even more when you upgrade to an adjustable base. At Verlo, all of our mattresses are locally crafted and backed by our lifetime comfort guarantee. So hurry in and get savings on top of savings during Verlo's Mega Mattress Sale. Wake up. Sleep better. Verlo.
Tons of glass artists share the same passion for eye-catching art as Ignite Glass and Gifts, so we're showcasing their work alongside our talented local artists and our in-house Ignite artists. The latest techniques, the hottest colors, and mind-blowing designs are here for you to enjoy. Madison's favorite for glass, gifts, and vape, Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road, plus IgniteGlassandGifts.com. Do your eyes a favor and see this stuff.
That sound? It's your recycling at work. And you can thank a Wisconsin woman for making it happen. Millie Zantow saw a waste sorting system in Japan during a trip in the 1970s. She came home to Prairie du Sac in Sauk County inspired. Her research led to the triangle numbered plastic recycling system we still use today. So can you guess what % of all the plastics produced in the United States ends up being recycled? 75%, 25%, or 5%? The answer coming up. Zantow also helped with Wisconsin's recycling laws, along with the opening of one of the first collection centers. But now, are you surprised to learn the answer is just 5% of plastics are recycled? It's according to the group Beyond Plastic. Yet Zantow always believed you don't have to be perfect.
Can you turn our mics on, please?
They're on.
There's a
Hello. Why is it weird? My mic is not on, or I can't hear anything.
It's on over here.
I can hear you.
I got nothing. I got nothing on my headset.
Try unplugging and replugging.
What? Test. That must be a short in that. I don't know.
Is it working now?
Yeah, now it is.
Yay.
All right, got to do some quick breaking news.
Weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network. Join me for an honest approach to the issues
30
American
seconds.
working families care
Thank
about.
you.
No talk-
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 8 minutes before the hour of 4 o'clock. ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our great stations you're listening to, comes up at the top of the hour, followed by a check of weather and sports, followed by the Maggie Dawn Show. In for Maggie today on vacation, the wonderful, the talented Matt Rothschild. Don't go anywhere. Matt will have a great program for you coming up immediately following us. And then Nightlight with Pete Schwaba from 6 until 8. A couple of breaking news stories at this hour. First of all, following up on our top story on this program today, just across the wires, CBS, Democrats prevent Texas House from moving forward with Trump-backed congressional map. Just occurred about 20 minutes ago. So keep it here. We'll keep you abreast of this. But developing now, Democrats, at least for now, have prevented the Texas House from moving forward on the Trump-backed congressional map. Also, for our listeners on WMDX here in Madison, breaking courtesy of Channel 3000, the CBS affiliate here in Madison, the University of Wisconsin Police Department is on the scene of an active police incident on the east side of the UW Arboretum. Again, here in Madison, avoid the area on the east side of the UW Arboretum. Campus police calling it an active scene at this hour. Continue to follow Civic Media News, and we will update you on that. All right. Here now, if you missed the show like Zommers did on Friday, we had Parker Olson in for Zommers, and we came up because the what's worse on Friday was what's worse, Malort or Blackberry Brandy.
I wish I was here for this because I've had both.
I didn't know what the hell Malort was. I had to look it up, and then it was a big thing, and then Parker texted the wrong Dom, and we thought the Dom didn't know who I was. We were very confused. Anyway, it was quite a show. And so here now, joining me at the desk for those watching on the stream, our own Carol, head of traffic. Helicopter is not different kind of traffic, right, Carol?
Absolutely.
You're the one that keeps all the commercials on the air, that keeps us on the air, and we appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So so for these purposes, are you from Chicago?
Originally born in Chicago, but raised in Madison. So I have what I call dual citizenship on both sides of the cheddar curtain, which is a friend of mine.
So how did you come to acquire Malort?
I bought it. I was curious. It's made from the same stuff as absinthe. And I have a writers group that drinks absinthe because it's fun. And Malort is similar, but not black licorice, which I hate. And then I went to a show in Chicago where it's an improv comedy show, and one of the guys in the show will do a few shots before doing this thing. And in New York, they did the drink of their choice, but in Chicago, they did Malort. And I thought that I had to try it. What is it?
So she's been kind enough to bring in, I'm not sure kind is the right word, but she's brought in Malort liquor. I have it in front of me, and I've heard it tastes like ashtray butts or something like that.
My favorite one I saw was it tastes like heartache and pencil shavings.
That's a really good one. I also really I saw someone describe it as it tastes like a racetrack.
Yeah.
All right, I will regret this perhaps, but the only way you got to live. I'll try anything once unless it kills me.
Do you want me to join you?
Sure, come on over, Zombers.
Come on.
Come on over. We'll. So here now, I'm pouring just. Do you do this as a shot or?
Yeah, you do a shot. I mean, I don't have shot glasses at home.
Yeah, I'm not doing an entire shot here, but all right, Zombers. Here's Malort, a Wisconsin boy. Have you had this before?
I have, maybe like 5 times or so.
Had it. All right. Here we go. Down the hatch. Cheers to Malort. Screw the Cubs. Ooh. Now, it went down fairly smooth, but the back end is ridiculously terrible. Judas Priest. That's terrible.
It doesn't go away.
Ugh.
It just gets worse.
I mean, it goes down very smooth when you're swallowing. But holy smokes!
Let me help you out here.
Oh, look at Carol. Now this is a real comrade, a friend, a colleague right here.
This is the antidote.
Oh,
this is dark chocolate. It will taste sweet now.
Really?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Here's the dark chocolate.
Here's your antidote.
Wow, you're a professional in all sorts of ways. Thank you.
I can't kill our afternoon host. That would be bad.
Well, not everyone would agree, but that did the trick.
It doesn't it though? It works.
That I haven't done before, but yeah, that is helping a lot.
Thank you, because I would not want to taste of that all afternoon. Why do people actually drink this?
My theory is that people from Chicago have a thing about how tough we are. And we also really like making our friends suffer now and then. So everybody's got a bottle of Malort somewhere.
Yeah, the guy who originally made it.
The place I like to put Malort.
It's Jepson's Malort. Yep. Jepson, the guy who made it, he had smoked and drank so much over the years. He was some old guy whose taste buds were crap. And he's like, I got to make something I can finally taste. And so that's why he made this. And he did succeed at that.
That would do it.
My sister Heather, watching on Facebook, our sometimes on-site producer and our producer says, "Are you actually going to drink that?" And then she puts a bunch of laughing faces. That shiver was ridiculous to watch. That was real. It was just gross. I mean, I can't. I mean, once is enough for me.
Mm-hmm. That's all you need.
Kind of like my time with women. Once was enough. That's all it took. Equally as bad for me, at least. But I can't thank you enough, Carol, for listening and helping us out with this. Because I wouldn't want to buy a bottle of this.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of this bottle, but there
I
it
was
is.
just trying to help you out. That's all.
But you didn't buy it just for this bit, did you?
No, I bought it for my writers group.
Oh, that's right, the writers group.
Yes,
By
that's
the way,
where we
we gotta have
discovered
Carol
it.
on. We'll have you on for a serious bit. We'll talk about some of your writing.
That'd be cool. Well, thank you for having me now. And
yeah.
I'm glad I didn't kill you.
She didn't. Carol, everybody, our wonderful traffic. And are you director of traffic?
I am corporate traffic director.
Director of Traffic, Carol, everybody. We appreciate her. Many thanks as well to State Senator Bob Jelk, former State Senator Bob Jelk, and Janelle Milla from Wisconsin Watch, and Zombers to all you for listening. Stay tuned. Matt Rothman is in for Maggie next. Whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. And don't drink Malort. See you tomorrow.